Hello, I will be covering scenario number one for my final project, which is you are proud to be working for a global company truly dedicated to wowing their customers with superior products and services. It is well known to be one of the best at putting customers first and going above and beyond. You are trying to understand the relationship of promotional markdowns and total sales across four of your international stores in Munich, Dubai, London, and New York. You have collected sales each week for a year across stores as well as data related to weather, fuel costs, unemployment, and cost of living. As a business analyst for this company, your global executive team is seeking your advice on what to do next to address how promotional markdowns are related to sales. You are able to help the executives make a business decision based on data and analytics. If successful, you will help improve sales and continue to improve the company's reputation. So the variables for this project is the store, which is represented by either the store number or the name, the week, as there are 52 weeks to represent each week of the year, temperature, which is in degrees Fahrenheit, fuel price, which is the cost of fuel in the region in US dollars, CPI, which is the consumer price index, unemployment rate, the holiday, if there's a holiday during the week or not, markdowns, which there are a total of 5 different markdowns, and then total sales. So I chose to run both a singular and multiple linear regression. I manually contrasted numbers of duration of temperature under 59.9 degrees and the sales that took place during those time frames. I also ran frequency tests, t-tests, and multiple correlations, and an ANOVA. While I've conducted a lot of analysis, I did not include all of them in this presentation, just to save time. So my approach to analysis, I'm choosing to further include more analysis as my prior analysis did not provide the results I anticipated. I was able to realize quite quickly that my prior assumption that there could be no correlation between the weather and sales turned out to be incorrect, that in fact it may have the most significant correlation. The approach to analysis is trying to understand the relationship of promotional markdowns and total sales across 4 international stores, taking into consideration multiple variables, to increase sales by better serving our customers and maintaining our wow factor with our customers, to better forecast how markdowns and other variables like weather, unemployment, fuel pricing, etc., affect sales according to region, to gain an understanding of whether or not markdowns have a positive or negative effect on sales at each location, as well as is there any outside influences that are uncontrollable that could potentially hinder or help sales. We want to gain better control over each location by knowing the effects of each variable. We want to be able to gauge the effectiveness of markdowns according to region, time of year, and frequency, allowing us to maximize the opportunity to increase sales and overall profit while allowing us to forecast accordingly. It is hypothesized that the markdowns between each group will not affect the overall sales of each group. So looking at the outliers that SPSS came up with for the case-wise diagnostics, I wanted to look into another analysis, as I am surprised at the outcome so far, as I anticipated almost the opposite effect from the variables chosen. So I took the annual total sales for each individual store and contrasted it against the total sales during holiday weeks, the week before a holiday, and the combination of the two. What I found was that during the week before and the week of a holiday, each store's total sales for both the week before and the week of a holiday comprised of 29.1% to 35% of the total annual sales. So in just 15.4% of the year, or 8 out of 52 weeks in a year, each store is conducting roughly 30 to 35% of their total annual business. That means each other week outside the week before and during a holiday, each week is only producing an average of roughly 1.5 to 1.6 of the annual sales. Again, this is significant. Furthermore, as you can see in the graph above, that represents which markdown for each store produced the most total sales, as a ranking for each markdown each week. So markdown number 1 created the most total sales for each store, with the 5th markdown producing the second highest amount. I do not have access as to when each markdown took place, so that does hinder further analysis in that realm. Focusing on what I have, markdown number 1 produced between 37.3% up to 44.6% of the overall total annual sales. Again, what I don't know that hinders further analysis is when these markdowns take place during the week. Example, when does the first markdown take place? How soon after is the second markdown? Are there any markdowns that occur more than once in a day, and etc.? Also, what I find interesting is during part 1 of this project, I deduced that the temperature would have very little, if any, relevance to the analysis. It turns out that there is a correlation between temperature and sales, as a significant amount of sales occur during the colder time periods. We'll see this on the next slide. So the findings and the results continue here. As you can see from this table set above, that the amount of time that the temperature remains at or below 59.9 degrees is negatively correlated to the amount of sales each store will have, which means as the temperature drops, sales go up. As the amount of time increases when the temp stays at or below 59.9 degrees, the amount of sales increases. This is a little subjective, as I am using my own opinion on what would be considered a cold day. Now, if I were to use the mean temp, which is 67.2145 degrees, utilizing the mean as the predictor in the graph above, what would be considered a cold day compared to a warm day, the percent of time and amount of sales would increase proportionately. So while proportionate frequency of sales may take place regardless of temp, the amount of sales in dollars is drastically higher, which makes this significant. So moving on to frequency analysis, in the frequency table on the left above, I have included the variables temperature, fuel price, CPI, and unemployment. The number used for each variable is 208, with 0 missing from the data. The 208 represents 4 stores multiplied by 52 weeks in a year. 4 times 52 equals 208. The mean for the temperature, fuel price, CPI, and unemployment, as you can see, is 67.21, 3.5, 200.02, and 6.09, respectively. 3 of the 4 variables reflected negative skewness, with fuel price being the only positive one. In the frequency table on the right, we find some significant information. We are provided with the mean for each markdown, while also provided the mean for the total sales. This reflects the significance that each markdown has on total sales, which was covered on a slide previously. Markdown number 1 and its mean are 39.6% of the total sales mean, which further supports the prior statements of the effectiveness of the first markdown. Moving on to correlation analysis. So much of my analysis is based on variables and how they interact and affect total sales, as I wanted to interpret and better understand how the uncontrollable aspects surrounding the company can hinder and or help sales. All the variables except holiday have a negative correlation, meaning as sales go up, it typically indicates that those variables will or are going down. Holiday is the only one with a positive correlation, reflecting as holidays come around, sales go up, which was addressed and supported earlier. In reference to total sales, each variable is significant, with the p-value being lesser than or equal to 0.037. Again, each variable is represented 208 times with no missing information. So next we have the multiple linear regression. Now the number reflects 208 that were measured, which makes sense as there are 4 stores, again, and 52 weeks in a year. This affirms that nothing was left out of the rest of the breakdowns. In the descriptive statistics, we are given the means of each category for each store over the span of a year. The correlations between the dependent and independent variables are all negative except one, holiday. Holiday is the only independent variable with a positive correlation, meaning as holidays come around, sales increase. The four independent variables R-square of 0.272 indicates that the group accounts for 27.2% of the variance in total sales, with holiday providing the largest portion of the variance at 13.3%. This is a significant amount in regards to holiday, with fuel price being of significance too. Stats seem to prove that of the four variables, unemployment seems to have the least amount of effect. The R-squared change indicates I can now explain a 2.6%, 7.7%, and 13.3% increase in variance in total sales by adding unemployment, then fuel price, and then lastly holiday, respectively, to the model. I've written out the regression model coefficient with the intercept and four independent predictors. Y equals B0 plus B1x plus B2x plus B3x plus B4x. Written out, it gives us total sales equals 39,411 minus the negative 449 for CPI minus the 20,907 for fuel price plus the 13,303 for unemployment plus the 27,501 for holiday. In this coefficients breakdown, we can see the positive relationship with unemployment and holiday, signified by the positive beta coefficient of 13,303 and 27,501 respectively, compared to the negative relationship beta coefficient of CPI and fuel prices, signified by the negative 449 and negative 20907 respectively. Next, we have the ANOVA and t-test. In the fourth model, the t-statistic reflects a significant predictor in both unemployment and holiday with a positive 4.258 and 6.095, with the p-value being p equals 0.000 on both. CPI and fuel prices seem to be a significant predictor of a smaller sample with a t-statistic of negative 5.079 and negative 3.740 respectively, and a p-value for that of p equals 0.000. So for every unit increase in unemployment and or holiday, total sales increase 13,303.498 and 27,501.427 respectively, while controlling for CPI and fuel prices compared to every unit increase in CPI and or fuel prices. Total sales will decrease by negative 449 and negative 20,907 respectively, while controlling for unemployment and holiday. So that said, for every standard deviation change in unemployment and or holiday, there is a 0.765 and 0.371 standard deviation change in total sales. As for CPI and fuel prices, for every standard deviation change in these two predictors, it will affect total sales negative 0.908 and negative 0.234 respectively. Something of importance to point out is that looking at the standard coefficient beta on the four independent variables, we see that both unemployment and holiday again are actively higher and a better predictor with 0.765 and a 0.371 compared to that of the CPI and fuel price, with a negative 0.908 and negative 0.234 respectively, letting us know that unemployment and holiday are as much as 4 or 5 times more important a predictor than the other two variables. Now, looking at the model summary here, the four independent variables R squared of 0.272 indicates that the group accounts for 27.2% of the variance in total sales, with holiday providing the largest portion of the variance at 13.3%. This is a significant amount in regards to holiday, with fuel price being of significance as well. Statistics seem to prove that of the four variables, unemployment seems to have the least amount of effect on total sales. The R squared change indicates I now have the ability to explain a 2.6%, 7.7%, and 13.3% increase in variance in total sales by adding unemployment, then fuel price, and lastly holiday, respectively, to the model. And now for the recommendations. We reflect through our analysis that the majority of total annual sales occur over 3 points in the data: colder time periods of the year, during the time of the week that markdown number 1 takes place, and lastly, the week before and the week of a holiday. That the products sold at each location are sensitive to the economy as they have a negative correlation between the CPI, unemployment rates, and fuel prices. We believe that markdowns are effective as markdown number 1 alone has reflected that it produces upwards of 44.6% of the annual total sales. Holidays are also a significant indicator of huge points of sale opportunities. We suggest that during the colder points of the year and around the holiday points to increase both all advertising, product lines, and markdowns to increase the amount sold per visit and to accommodate more customers and to continue the wow factor we have with our loyal customer base. Furthermore, if the company decides to span out to other countries, we suggest looking into the strength of the economy and the history within that region, as this will have a huge effect on sales. In regards to the variance of annual sales between stores, it does seem that there is one store underperforming compared to others, which is store number 3 in London. That store seems to be resulting in 25 to 30% of the annual sales that other stores are producing. This store needs to be scrutinized and looked into to see if there's a reason to continue on with it. Lastly, we would suggest expanding into nearby cities to feed off the loyal customer base, which will provide another opportunity for our company to grow. Thank you.